today.
Yeah. I do love this cigar. Hold on a second. Everyone, someone else start talking because I realized
Good morning, Mug Club.
The band is on here.
Ash Wednesday.
And I don't want people to know my favorite cigar because there's a shortage.
Oh, my
sometimes.
gosh.
So, hello, Ash Wednesday.
It's too late.
It was on camera.
Michael Knowles
It's too late.
has already taken the
You
ball.
can't see that. Don't know nothing about this. Welcome to Ash Wednesday. I'm not going to give you my favorite cigar because it's all for me. Half Asian lawyer Bill Richmond is here. Reg is here in studio. Thank you. Audio Wade, Quarter Black Garrett. This is where you can send your request to us at loudwithcarter.com/ask. Video requests. You can send in tweets. Less political, just, we shoot the bull, but never shoot no deer. You guys remember that? The old deer hunting song in Wisconsin? It's niche.
Yeah, somebody loved that reference. Somebody out there. Yeah.
Of course. Someone out there on the duck blind, I don't know, was like, yep. Yeah. Thank God for Spotify podcast. That Rogan showed him who's boss. that was my shitty duck call.
And now they're mad.
I can't do it.
Well, it's great for our topic today because I know our first question is everyone's favorite impression of duck calls. Great lead-in.
And that's just where mine is where I do my impression of Duck Dynasty and I condemn the homosexuals.
Oh,
I'm joking. He didn't really condemn. He just said it was gross.
Yeah.
This is, of course, many people have forgotten, Officer David Dorn, who was killed serving his community in the riots. We didn't, so you can buy this shirt at loudwithcarter.shop.com, and every nickel, every dime, every loonie, every toonie, every peso will go to the family of David Dorn to hopefully help support him. Because a lot of these people, they're forgotten. And this is one thing the left does really well. They remember a lot of people, often false heroes, whether it's people like Mike Brown or a lot of these people in the Black Lives Matter movement, and then we sort of find out what actually happened, and they just sort of deify the person regardless of actions. Yeah. This was a good man. This was a man who served his community. This was a man who there was no reason for him to die. And I think, from what we know, pretty good role model. Also, I hit the notification bell because subscriptions don't mean a whole lot. And you can subscribe on the iTunes. Is that it? Some kind of
the Apple
kind of the Apple Podcast. Some kind of musical singing robot.
Yes.
I don't know.
Google
but when you hit
Play,
subscribe,
it'll sing it to you.
Elon Musk hits a blunt. So,
Whoa.
I don't know. What's the pairing of the week?
Pairing of the week is LFD, Anniversario, and Makers 46.
Anniversario. You're a horrible Mexican.
Well,
It's not very good at it.
Yeah.
No.
What was that?
I don't know.
What were you doing? You were doing the skipper from
Well, my pairing is
Little
espresso
buddy.
with Jameson, so
it is early.
That sounds absolutely terrible. Well, thank you for your pairing. That's La Flor Dominicana is the name of that
LFD.
company. I know that Rush Limbaugh and Dennis Prager both really like La Flor Dominicana. It's not really my speed. I don't tend to like Dominican tobacco a whole bunch.
My speed? Speed.
Speed, yeah. Sometimes like a speed ball, which I'm dragging myself into deep waters because I don't know what a speedball is. Is it methamphetamine with?
It's a drug.
Is it coke with?
I think it's coke and heroin, right?
Is it really?
Oh,
You know.
no, it's one of those things you put into the dryer so your clothes get drier better.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was a ShamWow. I use that very improperly. I was so distracted by the ambassador that I was putting ShamWows in the dryer.
Soaked up all
They're
the
not
moisture.
dryer sheets. I should have known better, ShamWow. Let's go to our first question. Again, loudwithcarter.com/ask. Send in your video questions, and of course, we can see your tweets. This first question is...
What is your favorite non-alcoholic drink?
Agua. See, I'm a better Mexican.
Agua.
What was...
Agua.
Agua.
I don't understand.
I like saying it like I'm a bird waiting to be fed by my mother.
Oh, well, that's getting photoshopped.
Oh, boy. You had to say it, Garrett. Agua. So water. Water is your favorite.
Yeah, I'm going water as well.
Wow, okay.
I love water.
I learned it.
Yikes.
The only reason I learned it was because my friend who was Hispanic. His child speaks Spanish and kept demanding agua, and he was completely just neglected.
Oh.
Yeah,
That sounds
the
funny.
kid was dehydrated.
Poor little kid.
They're like agua. They're like, I'm like, I don't know what it is. They're like, baby talk. What? You know what? He's fine now.
He's a little genius.
Instead, he got some Topo Chico.
Wow.
My favorite non-alcoholic drink. Typically water. I do like Topo Chico. I do like
Topo Chico,
Topo
good.
Chico's really good.
Really good. Clear.
And then as far as sodas, but part of my routine in the morning is when I have my Black Rifle coffee, of course, blackriflecoffe.com/Crowder. I love the Black Rifle coffee. It is what I drink every morning.
Yeah.
I'll often have like one of those small 7-ounce Coke Zeros.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and in here I have a Dr. Pepper 10. I find the diet sodas aren't really great, but then those ones that are
Dr.
like
Pepper diet soda, though.
Is it?
I like
Well,
it.
the 10
I like
is
it.
better. It tastes
Yeah.
like normal Dr. Pepper. And then my favorite treat is, I think I had some with you, that Spreckers from Wisconsin.
Yeah, I was
going
gonna
back to the
mention that.
Wisconsin hunting crowd. Spreckers low-calorie root beer.
Yeah, that was pretty tasty. That's up on my list now.
Yeah, it is, because it's not super. Root beer doesn't need to be that sweet. It already has a bunch of herbs.
A lot of earthy tones.
A lot of herbs. Every
Those
time
herbs in there.
So I'm going to ask this. I actually have a number of non-alcoholic drinks that I like, but it's dependent on location. So, for example, I will never buy ginger ale or apple juice, but if I'm staying at a hotel and I go to breakfast in the morning, I always drink apple juice if it's available. And when I'm on a plane, I will always drink ginger ale.
You drink ginger ale
Yeah.
whiskey on a plane.
Well, ginger ale is supposed to help
I
you.
usually actually get them
The
separate.
bins.
Yeah.
And I will drink the whiskey first, then another,
Oh, like
then
a
usually
chaser.
another, then I'll drink the ginger ale. But for some reason, I don't know, and I know a lot of people who do ginger ale on the plane only. I don't know about the apple juice thing. It probably is weird. But I don't know if it, like, contextually. If
I don't know. He's reverting to a state of childhood.
reverting.
sweet.
Reverting.
Just going to apple juice.
My daily
maintaining.
existence.
Holiday Inn Express. You know what's funny? Ginger ale and bourbon. That's the most. Like, I've never really been hungover. I don't really drink to get drunk. But once I did accidentally have way too much to drink. It was the Mitt Romney Barack Obama debates. I was in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I had the worst sore throat. I had a friend who made me like a hot toddy. And then he said, I was like, that's a lot of work right now, and I'm exhausted. He said, well, try some bourbon and ginger ale. So I got a big bottle of Evan Williams. I was watching those debates, and I had no idea as to size. I'm a beer guy.
Yeah.
So I had like a pint glass, and I was like a tulip pint glass. I was putting probably about 6 ounces of Evan Williams and then ginger ale, and I had like 4 or 5. And I had a really bad headache. I at that point I wasn't very clear-headed. Next morning I felt fine. But I've never had Evan Williams since.
Wow, that's good.
Never go back.
It'll get you. Bourbon and ginger ale is a nice combination, but it'll trick you.
Yeah.
Jameson and ginger. It's a
Yeah,
great,
Jameson
great.
and ginger.
Is it really?
Nice.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite non-alcoholic drinks? Real quick.
I'm like Bill. Whenever I go to a hotel and I see cranberry juice, I just get so excited. It's delicious.
Your urinary tract thanks you.
Yeah. No, but I guess I'm the 30-year-old boomer, the meme, because I love the White Monster energy drinks.
I actually
It's
do find
just
that
so
if
good.
I don't have coffee
They're
on me,
so
that's what I
good.
go
Those
for.
are good.
Or the old school White Rockstar. I know most people don't like that, but that's usually what I go for.
Yeah.
My,
So I
my
really,
favorite is the White Monster.
It is pretty good.
It's I don't know, something about that flavor. Sometimes I even wish that they made like a caffeine-free version because I want to like drink it right before I go to sleep. It's
Yeah,
that
you want to
good.
have one of those. You know what's pretty good? The Neuro drinks, Neuro
Yeah,
Bliss.
Right.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the blue one is the Neuro Bliss one. So I
Yeah.
don't know what it does. It's supposed to be relaxing. I know there's nothing in there really bad for you. It's just like
Sure.
theanine and vitamin
Yeah.
D.
Yeah.
But it is pretty tasty later in the day. It's kind of similar to the White Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do
you guys
they also-
passed me over those. They're
Yeah.
actually pretty good.
Yeah, they're not bad.
And they have the energy one too, the Neurosonic. Those are good.
then wasn't there the
binaural beats
Neurogasm?
one. You know.
I'm not familiar with that one.
I have no idea. Maybe that was a different store. What are your favorite? I actually think there was.
I'm a Texan, so Dr. Pepper. I like Dr.
Oh,
Pepper a
nice,
lot.
yeah.
Is
Also
that like a
root beer.
rite of passage in Texas? You have to like Dr. Pepper?
I mean, when you come out of the womb,
It's the
Dr. Pepper.
Whataburger
Because
of
of
drinks.
Ross
No,
Perot.
they do the Dr. Pepper birth where you're in just a tub
Yeah.
of Dr. Pepper. And you float to the surface, and if you don't,
it's
you don't.
fizzy. You know, it's nice.
Yeah, if you do it right, you can do the Dr. Pepper dolphin birth.
Oh wow!
Where the
Tell me
dolphins,
about that.
it's they're supposed to do it in the ocean. So at that
Sure.
point, the Dr. Pepper's quite diluted.
Oh no!
Yeah,
But it's still there.
Tragic.
The salt water.
don't try and drink it. You end up like Ron Paul at debate number 4. Or now Joe Biden. What's your favorite there, Audio Aid?
I really like a good sparkling water. I'll drink a Gatorade after work usually. But yeah, most of the time it's just
What
water
color?
for
What
me.
color? Hold
Yeah,
on.
what
I go
color?
yellow Gatorade, the lemon lime.
Okay. It's like
I
third
think
class.
who hurt
It's,
you?
it's the original.
Red.
you know,
Red's the best one.
That's
Yeah,
pine
I-
sol. That's basically pine sol.
Whoa, pine sol. It's lemon lime. Yeah, I like
Lemon
that.
lime.
I do like the red one though, fruit punch.
Red one.
not
Fruit
the
punch.
cherry.
I don't like the fruit punch. It's way
Really?
too
Fruit
sweet. Here, I'm relighting this cigar. Do you guys
hate
does
blue.
anyone here
Blue's
remember
gross.
All Sport?
Allsport.
That was Shaq, because there was Gatorade, then Powerade, and there was like an arms race for crappy hydrate. Did anyone out there remember Allsport? Shaquille O'Neal was doing Allsport. It was fizzy.
Oh,
I
that's
feel like this
confusing.
is something that you as a foreigner had.
No.
Yeah, you
Allsport
sure?
wasn't. Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, I don't think
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal was only selling to Canada.
I got confused because I was drinking a whole thing of Icy Hot. So I guess I got my Shaquille products.
How did it feel that?
I was
up.
blending up
It was
Papa
good.
John's and putting it in, or General Insurance. Which one is he in now?
All right, you've had your fun.
Oh,
No,
Shaq.
Allsport. I don't remember Allsport.
No, not at all.
Okay, maybe someone out there remembers. Maybe it was a
yeah,
Canadian
yeah.
thing. I have no idea. We were also talking about this. So Play-Doh for kids.
Yeah.
that is not fair. When you have Play-Doh that looks like a strawberry, it
messed up,
smells
man.
like a strawberry,
Yeah.
but then if the kid eats it, he's going to shorten his lifespan by 18 years.
I didn't know that.
You know, I don't know why they do it. I mean, I'm just saying you're not supposed to eat it. I don't know if it's toxic. Now they say non-toxic, but I remember that change, which makes which presumes it was toxic beforehand.
Yeah.
Why make something that looks and smells delicious but could kill you?
Or it's just weirdly
Are
salty.
we talking about chapstick
Yeah.
right now?
That too.
Salty,
We're talking about Play-Doh.
savory.
It'd be like making the packing peanuts that come with your packages smell like cheeseburgers. And
Fun
then
to
be
play
like,
with,
why
not
would
to
you
eat."
eat those, Kyle? Because I'm 5.
I don't know if you
And
guys.
this
looks
Ziploc bag
delicious.
smells like cherries.
Kyle is fine, by the way, audience. He's fine.
He just needs some agua. Let's go to a video question. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Crowder and Company, this is Garrett. I just wanted to ask you guys real quick, what do you think are the most important aspects of lifestyle that need to be compatible between two people for a long-term relationship to be successful? Thank you for everything you guys do. Hope you have a good one. See you around.
You're not Garrett. He's
Hey,
Garrett.
yeah, one of the good ones.
confusing.
One of the
What
good
are you
ones.
doing? I don't know which one to shoot.
Too soon?
This is pretty.
don't know.
What are you talking about? When are you talking
Garrett's shooting.
Oh.
No, not too soon.
No, Foster. He's never too soon. No, that's just different if you aim an AK-47 at a car. I don't consider it. I don't consider it a surprise. It's not like he was so quiet. We never would have expected this. Would you have expected it after he aimed an AK-47? Well, yeah, okay. I guess that's a reason.
I mean, now that you bring that up,
I do appreciate, though, just on that point, like how pro-gun people have to be to make that argument.
Right.
They'll be like, no, he's totally fine to carry it and then point it and then,
Yeah,
He's
they have to be
right.
pro-gun, but
Right.
anti-gun safety.
That's when
Yeah.
they switch back to Anderson Cooper. Right. You're my baby.
That's just like all this time we were advocating for responsible gun ownership and Second Amendment. Realized all we needed to do was aim it at civilians with their finger on the trigger, and the left would have gotten on board.
CNN loves it.
They
yeah.
would have been the next
that's their
Charlton
thing.
Heston. That's a good question. We talk about this quite a bit in life advice. I think that you can make a lot of aspects of a relationship work. I don't think that you need to find someone where you have everything in common. For example, sometimes you're like, well, we need the same movies, like the same books. No, you don't have to have the same hobbies. It really does come down to sharing the same fundamental values. I don't know how people out there, James Carville does. I don't understand how you can make it work if you're a conservative, this person is a liberal. And I don't mean that maybe they're moderate and not necessarily interested in politics, but someone whose fundamental worldview is diametrically opposed to yours. I don't know how you raise children. I don't know how you have a relationship. I've never understood it. But if you have those values in line and also expectations and values as it relates to the relationship itself and roles in the relationship, if you agree on those, almost everything else can work. And some people think it's not romantic because it's not this idea of, the one and love is a many splendored thing. But you know what the truth is? Eventually you choose somebody and that passion wears off at some point and you get it back. You choose to continue acting on that. And so you both need to be on the same page when you enter into that relationship. It's the only way I've seen it work.
now I'd say, what about friendships? If that's maybe that's what he was asking. What long-term friendships, is it as required?
Did you say friendships?
I'm pretty confident we
No,
listed
no, he
different
didn't
questions
specify.
there. But no, that actually is, I think, different.
Did he say friendships?
No, he
No,
said,
he said long-term relationships.
Well, you want another friend named Garrett? You want to be Garrett and Garrett? Garrett? Meet Garrett. Garrett,
work.
meet Garrett. He's not Mexican. That's the introduction for you now.
Thank you.
No, for friendships, friendships, I don't know. No, with guys
change
it's
my Twitter
different.
name.
You can have someone you disagree with on a whole lot with guys politically, and still, then it comes down to more so values like loyalty, honesty. Not all of my friends. Now, the truth is, now today in 2020, you don't really find that in a lot of leftists, unfortunately.
No.
You find it in classical liberals who maybe support higher taxes. But people who believe in shouting someone down with a boombox and lighting their car on fire, not really someone I want with me in the foxhole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and people, if you're headed toward marriage, if that's your goal, then trust is going to be a big deal.
Right.
And that is based on, again, an underlying set of values, because you're going to be making decisions with this other person. And so being able to work within the same framework, you're not going to be around that person every time they're making the decision. My wife's at home with my kids right now. I'm not around her every single second of the day, but I trust her with that, and she can trust me with a bunch of other stuff. So it's like trust is going to be important, and the values that underlie that trust are essential.
Yeah.
And I'm not the best person to ask this advice because I started on second base. Huge penis. What were you about to say there, Reg?
Oh no, I was thinking back to the friendships.
I think it makes it easy.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
It gives me a third leg up.
Yeah. Second base has...
I can't remember, but I think as far as friendships go, didn't C.S. Lewis say something like, friendships are born out of, looking at someone else and saying, oh, you too, you have this interest, right? And so I think, especially for guys, a shared interest, you can build a friendship on that without particularly anything else in common. I had guys that I would, do powerlifting competitions with. We'd train together. We'd go to the meets. I had a guy, a close friend who was a Muslim, so I'd be sitting there reading my Bible, sharing a hotel room with him, and he'd be like praying towards Mecca. And then we get up the next day and max out in squats, bench, and deadlifts.
Did you ever pray to cancel out his prayers?
No, I didn't. We were in different.
That's how it works.
I do that sometimes.
We were in different weight classes, so it didn't matter. Yeah. But no, I think a shared interest, you can really bond over that. And politics, religion, other things don't have to come into the mix. With a marriage, it's obviously different because if you try to do that, you'll be pulling in two opposite directions. And that's where this sort of biblical analogy of being yoked together with someone, you've got to, if you're yoked, two animals are yoked together, they've got to be going the same way. Right. That's the main thing.
Especially when they're yaks. You ever try to yoke yaks? They're very strong animals.
Every day.
Yoke yak.
You ever try to say yoke yaks 5 times fast?
If they are not equal.
How much yaks would a
yoke yak better? Okay.
I don't know if we can yoke yak, but we can, if you yoke yaks, we're talking about, by the way, I want to be really clear, equal opportunity for the yaks as far as, but not equal outcomes. Not all yaks, there's no equal outcome guaranteed for yaks. So you yoke them equally as far as opportunity. Go ahead.
So I agree. I think when it comes to the relationships, you often have to have a similar goal, and you have to be able to know that when that person is making a decision that you can generally understand. Like, I'm not saying like you pick the wrong
English.
dinner, right? Communication.
Yeah,
that's pretty freaking key.
Yeah.
But ultimately that speaks to the higher center. Like, where are we headed? Like, where are we going to be in 5, 10, 20 years? What do we want our kids to be? What kind of relationships do we want to have? All of that means that you've got to have some level of kind of core compatibility, even if you have you watch TV in different rooms because you like different shows, or one of you likes to shoot guns and the other one likes to go play golf, or like whatever.
Wait, which one of you in your relationship likes to play golf?
Me.
So you like to shoot guns and play golf.
Yeah.
What's your wife doing at those?
She's just hanging out.
She's very understanding.
She's a very tolerant person.
Exceptionally patient. But I think with friendships, you're right. There's no question. Like, for example, I play in a band, and we have a variety of people on all spectrums. We were recording a song actually a couple weeks ago for a new album, and we had the producer was a small business conservative from New York. He's like, I have conservatism is in my blood because of how I've seen small businesses being treated under certain policies in the state of New York, and how that's affected my family and my grandparents and stuff like that. And then we had another gentleman, also from New York, an immigrant who lived in Brooklyn, had a more leftist type of view. And over the course of one of our breaks, like we were recording, we took a break, we're having a drink, eating some food, talked about politics for about 30 minutes, and then wrapped it up and got back done. And it doesn't have to be because you're not always having to go to the same place, do the same things, trust them with your kids or your finances or your decision.
It's a little bit different.
Church, yeah.
So. And I think with men in particular, we were talking about this earlier, how kind of in the powerlifting community, there was sort of a lot of common ground, a kinship with the combat sports community, whether it was jiu-jitsu or even collegiate wrestling. And the reason for that is, I think it's because it's an individual sport. So much training comes down to a moment where it's all on you. There's a lot of similarities between strength sports and combat sports. There's an intensity as well as kind of you go out there alone, but you do train with a team of people. So you're forged in the fire. And there is something to be said for men, particularly, while we're getting off relationships, going more into the territory of friendships, of being in some kind of a fight, some kind of a battle together, some kind of a struggle does definitely seem to forge a bond. Or you see relationships fracture. Because, you can also, I think all of us at some point have had a relationship where, okay, it was tested and the person folded and you realize you cannot trust that person. So even if you're not necessarily, if you don't share the same political values or maybe political policies, I would say, because of the difference between, for example, a lot of Muslims and Christians, they're actually probably very similarly aligned with a lot of values outside of, like we believe that women can get in the driver's seat in the Volvo. It's not, ain't going to mean all that much to me. But if you share those values and you do see some loyalty and some trust and people who will be there when you need them, that's what's most important in a male relationship. But you can have a common interest and everything kind of revolves around that. And sometimes you'll have friendships where it really just revolves around a common interest and you don't talk about a whole lot of other things. Whereas in a relationship with a woman, those common interests outside of values and direction don't matter as much.
And just because something's not coming up right now doesn't mean it never will. So that if you are in a relationship, if you're dating somebody, you can't maintain sort of political neutrality or moral neutrality, religious neutrality,
especially in a long term. Like
you could only do that if you don't really want to. If you don't really want to be with them, right? If you don't really want to share the kinds of things you have to share in a marriage, is the only way you can get any farther down the road, and inevitably it will cause a problem.
Yes. No, exactly.
And I would even go so far as to say the common interest in a marriage, in many ways, aren't necessary. I have some. My wife and I, we actually, if we go to the movie theater, we both want to see the same movie. We both read the same book. So we are an example of we have a lot of common interests. But I have friends who probably have almost zero common interest, but their marriage still works great because they share those values. And I think it actually, opposites can attract. It can be interesting and exciting to have someone who has interests that are...
Well, my brother and his wife, for example, they share a lot in common. They have the same sense of humor. They both worked in media. They are interested in a lot of the same things. They're both very, they like to be around each other all the time. My wife and I are actually pretty, I would say, independent in the sense that my wife can be downstairs reading a book, or she can be reading a book while I'm watching a documentary, and we're perfectly happy. We have the dogs with us, and we're in each other's company, right? It's about quality time. But it also does come down to, in relationships, esteeming your partner first. And so when I look for a movie that we're going to watch together, if my wife will say, hey, I'm tired, I'd maybe like to watch a movie tonight, could you pick one? I think we've all had this conversation. The biggest fights I ever got to in my life was with a girlfriend back in a video store. Because, the physicality of it just makes you want to find the hard edge and...
not that you did.
Literally.
You didn't do that, right?
No. Yeah, I thought you said you weren't Muslim.
No, No, I just found a nearby child.
That's why you got to bring the magnetron with you. As soon as she reaches for it, you go, oh, sorry.
Look, already touched it. Gotta
But so if she says, hey, try and find a movie, I will try and find something that my wife enjoys. And I find something that I like that my wife likes. For example, she loves like those early 90s thrillers, like, Primal Fear, like Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct, those kinds of things. I think the film like Frailty, these kinds of, and I enjoy those too. Now, there are certain comedies that I'll enjoy that I know. I mean, my wife just isn't going to like. But she'll also look and find some comedies that she thinks, okay, we can watch together. Now, there are certain lines that are drawn. For example, Married at First Sight. Don't do it. I did Bachelor when we were I did Bachelor for the first 2 years of our marriage, and I said, sweetheart, I can't do it anymore. If it's a show with a midget on TLC being pushed off a boat, I don't want to watch it. I can't do that, but I will go with you on these other journeys.
See, I'll preface it with, I'll go into your movie, but you got to know I'm going to make fun of it. Like, I'm going to make fun of it.
That was me with The Bachelor for a long time, and then she thought that it grew tiresome. Which she didn't know it grew tiresome. That was by design.
Wait, the show or you?
Yeah, me. But that was by design. I'm like, I'm just going to make this such a miserable experience.
There we go.
That I can never be accused of not supporting her, but I'm not going to have to watch Desiree pick from 16 wannabe actor douchebags.
You don't want to watch The Bachelor. She doesn't want you to watch The Bachelor.
Exactly. She doesn't want to watch The Bachelor. Right. So I go read a book on Churchill. And we both go our separate ways. But on the flip side with men, and I want to know, people out there, I guess this is kind of a question for you. What do you find, how do you see the connections being different between sort of your friendships, namely your same-sex friendships? That's probably a whole other discussion. I don't really know that men and women can be really good friends. I think you can, like, for example, I work with Courtney and we have a professional relationship and we're from afar, but I don't think my wife would ever be okay with me hanging out with a woman as often as I hang out with people here. Gerald alone. Mike Pence was dragged through the mud because he said, I won't go out to dinner. Because all he basically said was, hey, if I'm going to Cheesecake Factory with a dame, I'm going to make sure that there's somebody else present so I don't get Me Too. Like, oh my gosh, he hates women.
This was pre-Me Too, so they didn't even have a label for it.
It's like basic Like, just don't hang out with girls alone.
And really, Cheesecake Factory should have been the most upset because he said that their meals were always, he said it was aggressively mediocre.
Yeah, always disappointing.
Always disappointing.
Always.
Whereas
Every single
Olive
time.
Garden, you're not disappointed because you know exactly what you get.
There you go.
It's about expectation.
Yeah, it's exactly about expectations. So let us know what you think about that as far as what those commonalities are. I will say with jiu-jitsu, there was a guy who, really a great guy. We ended up becoming good friends. And he was advanced at this point. He was purple belt, was really close to being a brown belt. And I had some instructors for a long time who wanted me to compete, and so they would hold me back at white and at blue. And so that's so you can win more medals, which it really isn't fair. They call it sandbagging. And I always wanted to get to advance because I didn't really feel good being better than people in my category. Sure. But I rolled with this guy who was kind of top dog at the school. And when we were rolling, he got really mad because he was having a tough time. And so he turned it up on me. And I could feel him like he got aggressive. And then I turned it up. And then it turned into a full-fledged fight. It's like we were fighting before with less intensity, but now there were elbows grinding and like and then we both got up. He's like, "Yeah, you want to go?" I'm like, "You sure again? You want to go outside? So we'll change it. We won't have mats." And then after that, we got into a fight. Turned out that he was going through a rough period in his relationship, and he called me and he said, "Hey man, I'm sorry. It's just, like obviously this is something that means it's a big part of my identity right now. I'm going through this rough time in my personal life." He said, "I shouldn't have done that. I'm the more advanced student. He said, "I'm really sorry." And I said, "You know what? I'm really sorry because I should have given you the right of way." And after that, we were each other's best training partners. We were joking. We were having fun. It never got super competitive.
Yeah.
We were relatively evenly matched.
You know where the lines are.
You know where the lines are, but it took in our common interest. We did share values. We happened to. But I've had other people in jiu-jitsu who are always sharing common is jiu-jitsu. I would see them 4 or 5 times a week at this point in my life and never see them outside of it, but we were pretty close.
Yeah.
And we knew when we went to tournaments that we had each other's backs, that we
Yeah.
would be there cornering each other, that we would be kind of helping each other warm up.
Yeah.
That's important. Men are task-focused, task-oriented. You need to have an activity that you accomplish together, and that forges a bond.
And men are respect-oriented as well. So being able to
Yeah.
respect the other person, that is what forges friendships.
Yeah, respect and
yeah.
loyalty are the two main things in here.
Absolutely.
Making
Yeah,
friends.
and that's the case. That can be the case in a marriage as well. I mean, if a wife doesn't respect her husband, that will
Not a good base.
sap the identity from the man and will also just destroy that.
Yeah,
relationship.
women tend to receive love more so in tenderness, in kindness, in being gentle, in being compassionate, in listening. And men sort of receive love very often in forms of respect, in service, in appreciation. That doesn't mean get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich. But you know what? It'll melt your husband's heart if he comes home and you make a really good meal because you just did it because you love him and you know that he loves that chicken piccata and it's better than Cheesecake Factory. The point is,
Again, chicken piccata for anyone listening out there.
what do you mean? What did I say?
No, that you want the chicken piccata.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Just for hints.
I'm confused.
Okay, hold on. Can I just tell you, my mind goes crazy things when we're talking about stuff, and I thought to myself when we were earlier talking
Mine
about
goes crazy when
Cheesecake
we're not
Factory-
talking about stuff.
I know. I thought if there was a restaurant that Audio Wade would love the most, it's the frickin' encyclopedia tome that is the Cheesecake Factory menu. Because he loves to read so much, and I can see him being like,
A lot of options. All crappy.
None of them are great. None of it's bad,
Chapter
but none of it's
9.
very good.
Yes, correct.
Overpriced and just mediocre.
I mean, if your steak is getting shown up by Dave and Buster's, right next to the Whack-A-Mole, and you got to up your game. But they do scout out good location, Cheesecake Factory. That's what they do. They find a good corner. They're in a shopping mall. Although I don't really know how valuable that is anymore. But no, I think probably the same thing. You probably have members in your band. They're half Asian, Bill, where you probably don't have a lot of commonality outside of music with some of them. But when you're there, it doesn't matter. You're close because you're doing something together.
We're close, and they are all very respectful. Like I think I've told you guys this before. We did some touring before a couple years ago, and you're in a van, and a lot of time, and we're talking, and like I'm still working on lawyerly stuff in the morning or whatever. But every day we would pick a different topic, driving between cities, and talk. And I would say, I'll take either side. Whatever side you want me to take, if you're, whatever you think you are, and I'll argue the other side, whatever it is. So typically, it was me arguing the conservative side.
Yeah.
And every time it was.
You were sort of a backseat lawyer.
Yes, constantly.
That sounds like fun.
Oh, sure.
It was great.
He's not arguing about turn signals, but he's arguing about mens rea.
Hey. And so then, but it was respect. It was respect and a learning and an openness
Right.
to hear and consider. And that was a thing that allowed us to have that common bond. And then we would bond over, White Castle at 2 a.m. in Louisville because that's what was open.
And in music, as you're playing in a band sort of context, you can be impressed with each other. So like
Right.
you can
Right,
watch
right.
somebody do something they're very skilled skilled at, and just be able to be wowed by somebody, even if you have, again, different political views, different religious
But that
views.
also comes down to temperament, because some people will see someone else who is successful, and I think that's a big difference between leftists and conservatives in a lot of ways. When I see someone who's a billionaire, when I see someone who's very wealthy, I don't get mad at them. I don't think they must have screwed someone. I go, oh my, what is this guy doing? I go, that guy, man, to be his, or when I see someone who's really good at jujitsu, when I used to watch him, like, what is he doing? And I'll ask him, how are you training? And inevitably, they're doing something that I'm not. They're doing something better than I'm doing. But there are some people who will get mad and get jealous or try to pull you down if they know that you're better than them. And that's someone you can't be friends with. And I've had relationships like that where they're friends with you. And this happens in the comedy community. You're doing stand-up comedy. Then all of a sudden, I got into the Just for Laughs. And people who were saying that I was good were gone. I was like, he took my spot. It's like, no, I just did. Listen, you're great, and I would say you're probably better than me, but I just had a better showing that night. You know, it was my night. So that is, I think, something that comes down to respect and a mutual respect.
And I think the left tends to think in terms of zero-sum games, and whereas people on the right don't. So if, again, there are lots of spots. There are lots of opportunities for you to advance maybe next year. And again, but everybody thinks that if that one spot in Just for Laughs is taken, again, that there's no way for you to advance.
That's my spot, kid.
Yeah.
That's my spot. I was going to be the #1 star in the world. Dana Carvey's Mickey Rooney. You ever see that?
Dana Carvey's Mickey Rooney, yeah.
I was the #1 star in the world. You hear me? The world. And that was his Mickey Rooney impression. I don't know why. I got to work with the wonderful Anne Margaret. A knockout, the #1 star in the world. It was his old bit, Dana Carvey. But I will say this too, when you talk about mutual respect, if you find someone who's excellent at something, someone who's kind of good at something but not really, and you want to sort of sit at their feet and learn, they often try to make it seem like it's something you can't do. Someone who is a master, someone who is genuinely good and accomplished and knows that they are one of the best, they're usually actually pretty happy to try and impart that wisdom with someone else. That's been my experience. Yeah. I've gone up to so I just say jiu-jitsu because it's something that I've done for a long time. Yeah. Comedy is a very hyper-competitive, even though people try and act like it's a community, it's not. But in jiu-jitsu, I've gone up to world champions, go, man, how did you get this guillotine to work? And they go like, oh, let me show you. But I've had people who are kind of so-so go, how do you do that? They're like, man, it's just doing it for a long time. You have to do for a long, and they want to make it seem like there's some barrier to entry. Yeah. And that's because people who are really good, the language they speak is respect. If you show appreciation and respect to someone rather than jealousy, and this applies to people who run successful businesses, people who have successful marriages, in most cases, there are exceptions to the rule. People who are excellent, they want to see other people be excellent because they're kind of in a league of their own. And let me end it with this before we tell YouTube to take a hike for people who are Mug Club members. Of course, this continues behind the paywall, livecredit.com/mugclub. My grandfather was a full colonel in the Air Force. He would have been general, but he didn't have a high school, he didn't have a college degree. I don't even know if he had a high school degree. And he was a guy who trained all of the fighter pilots. Basically, all the elite kind of fighter pilots in the Air Force. And so he was flying every day. He was an officer, but he was out there flying every day. And his kids didn't really realize what my parents would say. They'd be like, Dad, dinner, I don't want sloppy joes, whatever they were complaining about, back then, because they had sloppy joes. And if they asked for steak, it's like, who are we, the Rockefellers? No, everyone has steak. But they would say that, and he'd go, you little do you know where I was today? I was over Portland and then Canada, Sacramento, and back before your final school bell rang. Do you have any idea what I do each day? He just he had the coolest job and no one appreciated it because it was their dad. And so if you're a wife, if you're a son, that is something that I think goes a long way with men and women. Let me know what's the equivalent of that. What goes a long way with you? Because we always want to learn, and you're a Rubik's Cube that we just can't figure out. Our last name is not Takashi. We're not Rubik's Cube experts. But right now, YouTube, piss off. We're going to Mug Club.